Greetings, alcoholic audio engineer here, coming to you from lovely scenic Paju, South Korea, roughly 5 kilometers south of the North Korean border, where all hell could break loose at any given moment. Not, but maybe. Okay, welcome to the first edition of Alcoholic Audio Engineers Into the Mix series. And we're going to be looking at the mix for a song called Passing Through, which is the first thing that I posted to this channel. So if you want to hear the mix as it currently stands, please do check that out. And with that said, away we go. It's the first time I've really looked at this mix in quite a little while. And I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to find. I'm just diving headlong into this, and I may decide to make some changes along the way. But we're going to look into what I did. I am quite happy with that mix in terms of it has a very, to me, a very spacious quality to it, and that's partly due to its minimalism. For example, there's a place where I was really tempted to do some kind of guitar solo. I did not. There were other things that I was tempted to do. I did not. I was tempted to do some instrumental stuff as it faded out as a kind of outro. I did not. I believe that sometimes restraint is called for, and there can be a lot of power in restraint. That's not to say that I won't change my mind about this, but yeah, I am. The only thing I'm not happy with in the mix is the lead vocal track. Not my best performance. I tracked that vocal fairly early on after I started getting back into recording and mixing. And since then, I think that with practice and just kind of getting my voice back into shape, I've gained a bit more confidence, and I think I'm a stronger vocalist now than I was at that time. Not that it was that long ago, but I'm thinking about retracking that vocal, and if I do, I'll do it, on camera. I'll make a video post about it. Anyway, let's just fire up a cakewalk and get into the mix. I think I'm going to adjust this microphone so that it's, there we go. Right. And I moved the camera, changed the camera angle a bit so I don't have to turn all the way around to look at it. I was looking into the microphone like an idiot last time. Okay, so firing up Cakewalk. This is Vishnu, the preserver. Okay, Cakewalk. And once you've done several projects on Cakewalk, one nice thing is when you start it, you get the most recent thing that you've opened first, in descending order. So there it is. I just, before starting this, I opened it up just to make sure I still knew where it was. And there it is. So we're opening it right now. Now, in the last video, it was last night, there's just some basic Okay, hang on a second. You hear that? If you saw that, I can't even talk with this. You hear the munchkins? Alright, here's what's going on. You see this track, number 12, called Chimes. I'm going to expand that, and you can see that this button that says input echo equals on. I'm going to toggle that and click it off. Alright, now the munchkins are gone. I left that on when I saved it for whatever reason. I'll explain what that button does later. Basically, is allowing the effects on that track to process the signal that's going from the microphone into the video that I'm making right now. But if you made it to through towards the end of last night's video, wherein I applied some basic leveling and EQ and compression, a little bit of compression and effects and reverb to take some god-awful tracks that I had tried to record through my laptop's internal microphone through the sound card. And if you watched that video, you'll remember the munchkins. Alright, so anyways, let's go ahead and just look at what we got here. First we have the drum loop. Alright, and as I said before, don't let anybody tell you that drum machines are bad or a cop-out or anything like that. If it wasn't for drum machines, we wouldn't have, Purple Rain by Prince. 9 Inch Nails, not that I'm a fan, but, that was a seminal, genre creating, a project band, Trent Reznor. Again, hip-hop, not that I'm not remotely a fan of that, but, going all the way back to, like, John Lennon, and before that, drum machines, and they have a time-honored place in music production. And when you're working in a home studio, obviously, you're not going to have a drum kit, and you don't have the wherewithal to record live drums. So, machine drums it is. And there are things that and so the human element comes into what you put on top of them. Okay? That's where the human touch comes in. But there are also things that you can do with that drum track, to make it more interesting. And I'll be getting into that as we go along. So here's the, I guess I'm just going to go through the tracks one by one and solo them so you can hear them solo by themselves, and I'll briefly go through the plugins that are applied to each track. Just if you don't know what a plugin is, it's something that you use to modify the signal of the track in any way that you want. It could be a compressor, it could be an effect of some kind, EQ. There's all kinds of plugins out there, and I'll be doing a separate video on plugins and how to find them and download them and install them, and perhaps most importantly, to get them for free. And I've found quite a few that are really, really decent. Some of them are really excellent, and they're available free of charge. Okay, so here's the I called it loop. It's the drum loop. Um, and so, see, Fit project button up there puts everything into this window right here. That's the whole kit and caboodle. That's the whole project mix right there in one view. Now, there's two ways that I can expand this. Well, actually, if I want to expand one track, I'm just going to drag it like this. Just kind of get the cursor in between the channels there, and where you see the two arrows, and drag it up and down. That's the waveform of the drum track. Now down here in the lower right hand corner, you can see that there are these magnifying glass icons with plus and minus. These are zoom in horizontal and zoom out horizontal, and likewise zoom in vertical, zoom out vertical. If I want to take a closer look at the waveform and stretch it out, I do that, and here you can see the individual drum beats. Okay. Now, since I did that, the whole project is no longer fitting into that window. I've got to use I got to scroll across along here on the bottom to scroll through the project. Okay. So let's just take a listen to the drum loop by itself. So to listen only to the drum loop, I'm going to click the S button, which stands for solo. I'm soloing the track. All the other tracks are grayed out. All right. And first, I'm just going to spacebar is play and stop. I'm just going to start playing it, and at first you're not going to hear the drums. The drums are going to fade in, and the reason for that is, let me see, I'm just going to fit project again. You can see right here these dots that are kind of like going upward, kind of like a haphazard staircase here. This is called volume drawing. The drums fade in, and they fade in until they're at volume 0.0 decibels, which is the ceiling in digital audio. You don't want to go above 0.0 decibels. You want to keep everything negative up to 0.0. So here's what it sounds like. I will go ahead and expand this once again, and stretch it out so that you can see the individual beats of the drum. And so here's what it sounds like soloed. Fading in. Okay. You notice that when I hit stop, when I hit the space bar and I hit stop, it jumped back to the beginning. There, you can set that. You can set Cakewalk to do that or not. I prefer to keep it on this setting so that when you hit the stop button, it jumps back to where you began. There are reasons for that that'll become clear later. Anyhow, you see over here these yellow bars. These are the VST plugins that are performing various functionalities on this drum track. So just for the sake of interest, I'm going to click up here past the fade in, and this is the toggle button right here. This is bypass rack. That's going to switch off all three of those plugins so that you can hear the signal dry. All right, and then I'll A/B it. I'll start it. I'll click it so it bypasses the plugins. I'll click it so that it kicks the plugins back on, and you can hear the difference. Okay, bypassing. All right, quite a difference, isn't there? enable the plugins again right now. All right. Off. Okay. So that dry signal without the plugins came from this. You see that blue glowing screen? That is my M-Audio black box audio interface. M-Audio is the name of a company. This particular audio interface is probably, by now, it's probably at least 17, maybe 18 years old. It's an old piece of equipment, but I love it. I know that there are much newer and, in some ways, better things out there now. And to be totally honest, I'm really not up to date on the newest stuff. I'm kind of in the past because I can't afford a lot of new stuff right now. So I'm sticking with what I know and what I've had for a long time. And this M-Audio black box, I think I'll put a link in the description. You can go check it out. It's got some very neat features. It's packed with all kinds of effects. It has it's a drum machine for one thing, and it has guitar amp models, a lot of guitar amplifier models, a lot of effects, very, very interesting effects, and many of them are time-based. For example, tremolo. Tremolo is volume modulation. You know, it swells louder and softer. Wow, you've heard it a zillion times. It's got tremolo, it's got arpeggiators, it's got all kinds of time-based stuff. And, you know, like, for example, just take tremolo. Tremolo is extremely hard to sync with anything that's precisely time-based. Very difficult. You know, like even with you know, the band The Smiths. One of their most well-known songs, How Soon Is Now, if you've never heard it. One of the remarkable things about that song is how Johnny Marr, the genius guitarist of that band, there are videos on YouTube where he explains how he did it, but he took these big Fender amps with onboard tremolo. I forget how many. It might have been like 4 of them or something. And he got the timing right, where you know, it's just it's locked in with the drums, and it's just an amazing sound. If you're anyway, without going into a long explanation, this device takes all these time-based effects and locks them to the drum machine precisely. And so it's amazing. I'll be showing you more about that as we go along. Anyway, this drum track that you hear dry without these VST plugins, that's what I tracked from this audio interface drum machine, and I wanted more out of it. I wanted it to you know, do something that that this drum machine was incapable of doing. Right, so I applied VST plugins to make that happen. Here again is the dry drum track. You can hear it in stereo, which is nice. All right, now I'm going to turn on the plugins again. All right. The first thing that you can hear is there's a lot more beats going on. That's from that's from delay. Okay. If you don't know what a delay effect is, and again, I'm talking to I'm making these lessons for people that have never done any of this. A delay effect is, let's say you plug a guitar into a delay effect pedal, and you plug that into the amplifier, and you hit one note or one chord on the guitar. That's it, once, right? You hit one note, and the delay pedal repeats that note, okay? And you can set the tempo, the timing of the repeat. You can make it faster or slower. You can adjust the volume of the repeats. You can make the repeats louder or softer. And you can adjust how many repeats will occur after you strike that note or that chord or whatever. That's a delay. And I have applied delay. So there are a lot of delay plugins out there that you can download and use. There are really cool delays called tempo delays, and that's where. Long story short, you're doing a song at a set tempo, and you tell the tempo delay what tempo it is, and you can adjust the delay to give you all kinds of what are called polyrhythms, triplets, and the band U2, the guitarist, The Edge. He really is famous for, making a lot of use of tempo delay. And the amazing thing is that he does it live with a real live human drummer. That's no mean feat. And he does it extremely well. I'm not a big YouTube fan, especially Bono. But The Edge, really amazing what he does with delays. So, what do we got here? The delay comes from this one here called PX64 Percussion Strip. I believe that this plugin actually comes bundled with Cakewalk, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember downloading it and installing it, so I think it does come bundled with Cakewalk. It's extremely useful, not only for drum tracks, but I've used it on bass lines. I've even used it on rhythm guitar parts. Anything that's rhythmic, anything that's anything where the transient is really important. I'll explain that later, but basically, there's something called attack, where when a note is struck, and when that note is struck, the waveform jumps, right? For example, let me stretch this out here some more, and you see right here, this is a drum beat, an individual drum beat right there. All right. Now I'm going to stretch it out even more, and right there, where it goes from pretty much silence, and then there's the waveform. There's the initial waveform right there. That's called the transient. Attack is how, let's just say, how sharp that transient hits the ear. Okay, and sometimes, especially like with a bass part, you want that transient to be nice and, sharp. Okay, not too sharp, but snappy. You want it to be snappy. And I'll just go ahead. First, I'm going to pull this one up here. This is, I mentioned last night, Tokyo Dawn Records, TDR. They offer a number of really nice mixing and mastering plugins for free. And I use all of them on every mix. They're really good. So TDR is Tokyo Dawn Records. TDR, what is this one called? VOS. TDR VOS Slick EQ. I generally use this one I have set on. Now these are presets. All right. You can obviously twiddle around with. I'm not going to explain all the knobs in all of these plugins. There's just not the time right now. This is going to go on long enough as it is. I will explain some things briefly. For example, gain. All right, gain means basically volume. How loud the signal is. How much signal you're driving through. Frequency. That's frequency. That's pretty self-explanatory. That's EQ. Right. This is an EQ plugin. You're attenuating frequencies and some frequencies and enhancing other frequencies. Frequencies are bass, mid-range, treble. You can see that this has 3 bands. Low, that's bass frequencies. Mid, that's mid-range. High, that's trebles. Mid-range, think of things like electric guitars. Low, think of things like bass guitars. Mid-range to high, the human voice. Some instruments tend to be up in the high range. Keyboards, right? They run the whole gamut. But anyways, you can do your own settings. Or, what are really useful is you click on this thing here. Not all plugins have presets, but these do. And, you can just kind of click around and see which ones strike your fancy and which don't, which ones work for you and which don't. For whatever reason, I used this one called Mastering One. I don't know why. I just liked it at the time. Normally, I use one called Stereo Width Enhancement. I don't know why I didn't use it. Maybe I thought that this drum track already had enough stereo width and didn't need any more. But this is an EQ setting that I don't know how it does it, but it takes the track and EQs it in such a way that it just seems to get a little bit wider in the mix. It seems to spread out a little bit more. I don't know how it does it, but it does. So anyway, that's an EQ plugin. And then after that, I have this PX64 percussion strip. Now you can see there's a lot more going on here with this one. This one has, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different components to it. It has a delay, as you can see. Toggle off, toggle on. I've got the delay turned on, and it also has a shaper. I talked about attack and transients. This shaper section is where you adjust how sharp the attack of that transient is. There's a expander, compressor, or expansion compression, and there is an equalizer. That's EQ. For whatever reason, I chose not to use the compressor on that. Maybe I thought it already sounded compressed enough. I can't remember why I made these decisions at the time. I chose not to EQ it. As you can see, the knobs are I fooled around with it, but at the end I turned the equalizer off and chose not to use it. I guess what I'm going to do is, let's see, I'm going to bring this back down to like where you can see just the individual drum beats, and I'm going to sort of play it, and I'm going to toggle these different stages in this plugin off and on, just so you can hear the difference. All right, here we go. Okay, first I'm going to turn off the delay. All right, turn it back on. All right. Now I'm going to turn off the expander. That's probably going to be really subtle. But let's listen. Off. Okay, I think what that's doing, there's a cymbal sound in there. I think it's a ride cymbal, and I think that when I turn on the expander, for whatever reason, it's just taking that ride cymbal sound and making it a little bit more low key. I think the ride cymbal was bothering me a little bit. I thought it was just a little bit too present. Let's A/B it again. Yeah, it's not a ride cymbal, is it? Off. That. I don't know, it's very subtle. Yeah, it just seems to subdue the, I don't know why I thought ride cymbal, but it's very, it attenuates the trebles just a tiny little bit in a way that I guess I found pleasing. Now I'm going to turn the shaper on and off. Again, this is the attack. Can you hear how it's kind of a throbbing? You hear the throb, right? Kind of a dull throb. Now I'm going to turn it back on. You hear how that throbbing got a little bit sharper? Again. Just to drive this home a little bit more, here's the attack knob. I'm going to turn that from fast, all the way fast, to all the way slow. And by the way, watch the curve over here on this screen over here. As I turn these knobs, I'm just going to turn the knobs, and you just watch and listen. Once again, you can listen to that throbbing. The throbbing gets just a little bit more sharper and more distinct with the attack turned up. Usually I don't turn it up all the way, but I did in this case. Weight and decay. These are hard to explain. A lot of things you're just going to have to twiddle the knobs and figure it out what it does on your own, okay? I'm just going to give you the basics of what these things do. And yes, part of the journey is just twiddling knobs and, messing around and figuring out what works and what doesn't. But I'm going to turn the weight from, it's got thin and fat. Here's about like a 230 towards fat. I'm going to turn it to thin. That's a big difference. All the way fat. The throbbing is too strong now. Right there. Now decay. Decay is like, for example, with reverb. You know, reverb is a room sound. It's kind of like echo, really complex echo. When you're using a reverb effect, and like you hit the space bar and you hit stop, you can hear that complex reverb echo just kind of gradually dissipating and fading away. That's decay, right? You know, a lot of effects have decay, and you can adjust the decay. So I'll just turn the decay knob, and you can hear how, you know, that changes the sound. It takes a little bit of time for the difference to set in because of the delay. The delay has to kind of like cycle through, and the change has to kind of like wash out in the delay. Now I'm going to turn it all the way up to wet. You can see now that those cymbal sounds are just out of control. I think I had it set about there before, right? And then, of course, weight and decay have these knobs called color. And, well, okay, so like in general, in audio mixing, colors tend to be meaningful. A red color is going to mean like a warmer sound. You might say like a more analog sound, we like to say. And blue is a more of a clean and precise, clear sound, but it can be somewhat cold in ways, which is why, you know, red and blue. Those are pretty subtle. I'll just sort of tweak them just so you can see what goes on up here, and it's reflected in the graph over here. So decay color all the way to red, all the way to blue. All right, and weight color all the way to red. Well, first I'll go all the way to blue. And then all the way to red. Hear the increase in the bass frequencies. Okay. All right. So also you'll notice over here on the left, this thing says saturation. Basically, when you see saturation, what that means in the digital audio world is it's an attempt to get things to sound a bit more analog. Analog means, you know, before digital audio, everything was analog. So everything from LPs, you know, reel-to-reel tape, LPs, cassette tapes, all that stuff is analog. Okay, and I'm not gonna. If you don't know the differences, you know, between analog and digital, that's a quick Google search for you. You know, but in general, people feel that a lot of people feel that you know, analog is better because it sounds warmer and more natural, and they just prefer. It's a preference, really. It's a preference. You know, like younger people that were born into the digital audio world, and you know, never heard an LP or a cassette tape in their lives. They don't know that. They don't know. They have no frame of reference for it, right? But again, it's all taste. It's all, what you like and what you're into. There's no right or wrong. I mean, there, there are things that, I mean, you can push things to extremes where they are going to sound not so good to most people. But overall, mostly it's about taste. Okay, so that is the PX64 percussion strip. It's good for anything that's percussive, anything that's important to the rhythm section of a mix. And that could be, of course, it's drums and bass, but it could be things like rhythm guitar. Anything else that's important to what we call the rhythm section. Okay, so I'm going to back out of this, and the last thing here is something called Verispeed. This is an emulator of a tape delay. So I told you what a delay is before. You plug into a delay, you strike a note, and it repeats. Nowadays most delays are digital, but way back in the day, bands like I think the Who used a lot of tape delay, and tape delay. You see the visual aid right here is this is supposed to mimic an actual tape delay unit from way back in the day, and they look like this, and you can see that there's if you look carefully, you can see the kind of like the sheen of the tape kind of like oscillating or warbling as the tape goes around the loop. So you can look up old tape delays and how they worked. This emulates that, and it just it's not a very it's a very subtle. You can make it a very subtle delay. Almost think of it like I use it on vocals quite a bit. You can think of it as a kind of a thickener. You can set it so that you can't really make out the repeats so much. They just kind of like fill in the spaces, and they just kind of like you're making a stew, right? And it's a little bit thin and soupy, and you want it thick. You want it to be like a stew. And so what do? You can stir some flour and water together and pour that in, and bring it up to boil, and everything gets thicker. It's kind of like that. So I'm going to I'm just going to A/B that right here. Okay, so I can turn these on and off individually. So, okay, so I'm going to turn the Verispeed tape delay emulator off and on. So on, off. Not so subtle at all, actually, is it? I made heavy use of it in this one. So I'm going to turn off I'm going to fire up the percussion strip again. I'm going to turn this delay off. Okay, so there's that dry drum machine signal. Okay, and just for the heck of it, you see, that's without the Verispeed. Now here's with the tape delay, but with the percussion strip delay is disabled, turned off, and so we're just going to hear the tape delay emulator. That's where I got that throbbing from. I like that throb. Let's listen to it with just the percussion strip delay. You hear the diff? So there's that hi-hat. That's a hi-hat. I used the percussion strip delay to get that hi-hat to listen. Hear that? pretty minimal by itself. Yeah, the snare repeats a bit. Everything repeats a bit. But I think the thing that I liked was how it took that hi-hat and I like that. I think that's why I did that. Yeah. That's what I wanted out of that delay. But I wanted more. And so I decided to fire up the tape delay emulator. And I just messed around with the settings until I liked what I heard. That Smith song, How Soon Is Now, right? There's that constant throb, right? Totally different kind of throb, but a constant throb. Anyway, that's the drum track, and that's what I did with it. And it runs that way all throughout the song. Again, I kept this one pretty simple. There are other mixes where I used 2 or even 3 different drum loop tracks. And and not all of them all throughout the mix. Some instances, like one drum loop runs from beginning to end, but another drum loop that sort of alters or enhances the rhythm. I kind of put only in the chorus section. I'll be getting to a song where I did that after I finish this into the mix. Probably going to be a series, actually, on this song passing through. So let's go on to the next track, which is called RNFI 24. Now, this was the I wrote this song around this track. I built this song, this mix, around this track. I wrote about this in the description of the song itself, which is, again, the first thing I posted on this YouTube channel. I was sort of exploring some of the effects presets in this M-Audio black box one night with the headphones on, with my electric guitar, just looking for ideas, right? And I found this one setting in an effect preset called RNFI 24. Okay, and I really liked it, and I was just playing some different chords and messing around with chord progressions, and I just found something jumped out. I ended up playing something that I really liked, and I liked it so much that I decided to track it in Cakewalk for possible future use. I didn't even plan on using that track. I just didn't want to forget the idea. I wanted it there for reference. I had planned to, just listen to the chord progression and, oh yeah, that's how I did it, and then, go from there and re-record it, retrack it, do something with it. But in fact, when you just lay down an idea for future reference, you can call that a scratch track. But I ended up liking that scratch track so much that I made it the core of this whole project. So everything is built around this track. And here's what it sounds like soloed. So as you can see on this track, we've got a whopping 7 plugins on this track. All right. So I guess first I'm going to bypass the plugins and just let you hear. This is a guitar track through the audio interface, the M Audio black box. This is just the sound of that of this box right here. My electric guitar going through it. Here's what it sounded like. That's right. I want to solo it. First. Here we go. Oh, that's right. Aha, I forgot about that. Aha. Aha. Okay, let's see here. Loop. Wow. Alright, so. Oh, I forgot to unsolo the loop. There we go. You can't, if you get solo two things at once, you're going to hear both of them. Alright. Okay, here we go. Now, yeah. Okay, so I tracked this with, I played it to a drum track. And when I tracked it, I had that drum track going on in the background. But that was a limitation. The problem with having a drum track and main guitar track in the same track, they're inseparable. I can't separate the two, and this is one track. By the way, this is a stereo signal. You've got two waveforms. They're left and right. That's a stereo. A mono track has just one waveform, just for reference. But, in these two waveforms are that guitar sound with the effect and that drum track. But the cool thing about this is you can hear how this is a time-based effect. I forget what RNFI stands for. I'll have to go back and look it up. But let's just listen to what it does and notice how it's a time-based effect, and it's exactly synced to that drum track. So what I did was, I went ahead and I tracked a separate drum track, by itself, so that I could, manipulate that the way I wanted and have that be the main drum track. But I, synced it exactly with the drum track that was already pre-existing in the guitar track. But that was the guitar track synced exactly anyway, so it all just fits together. That's the wonderful thing about this M Audio black box. Anyway, listen to what it does and listen to it without the effects plugins first. Okay, so, it's kind of like doing this stereo thing. I think this is basically like it's kind of like a stereo, not sample and hold. Is it sample and hold? It's kind of it's an EQ effect. It's kind of like a random EQ. I think is it called sample and hold? I forget. But anyways, that's what it does, doing its thing. The chord progression behind that on the guitar is B, A, E, and back to B. If you're a guitar player or you know anything about music, you can make of that what you will. All right, but if it was in the key of E, which it's not, it's in the key of B. I think. I'm not terrible at music theory, but I think it's in the key of B, although the song changes keys. It changes to, I think, E flat, but then it goes back to B. Again, I'm terrible at music theory, but I think that's what it does. But let's say it's in the key of E. Let's say that it starts out with an E chord, and then it goes up to B, and then to A, and then to E. C, E, D sharp, maybe, yeah. That would be a 1-5-4-1 chord. That's a standard. That's the blues, all right. The 1 would be the E, the 4 would be the A, the 5 would be the B, and all of the blues uses 1-4-5 1-4-1-5-5-4-1. But in this case, it starts with the B, and then it goes down to the A, and then down to the E, and then back to the B. So that's a different chord progression. It's like so I think it's in the key of B. So B, and then back down to A. That's like the flat 7. B, yeah, and then anyway, it is what it is. It's a chord progression that you hear in a lot of music. The Rolling Stones used it a lot. For one example, let's listen to it again. It's E, 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 back to B, 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 A, 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 E, 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 back to B, right. A little bit later on in the song, that chord progression changes rather markedly. But now, that's what it sounded like, straight from the black box audio interface. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these VST plugins on one by one, and yeah, I think it's a good way to go about it. I'm going to turn them on one by one from the first one to the last, and you can hear what each one does individually. First one I've got is a boost, and it is that's exactly what it is. It boosts the signal, makes it louder, and there are different reasons for doing that, at different times. It's not always advisable, but it's I use it often for guitar parts, but for other things as well, just where needed. I just thought that this I could have tracked this a little bit louder. Again, I tracked it as a scratch track just to capture the idea so that I could come back to it later. I wasn't really concerned with how loud it was. So I guess I felt it needed to be louder. Let's see how much louder I made it. So I'll go ahead and hit spacebar play. And now I'm going to turn on the boost. Wait a second. Oh, okay. Here's the way I have to do it. I have to click this one, the bypass rack. The rack is all of the effects together. Turn them all on, and then individually turn these off. Okay, so we're all the way down to, right. This one is on, and it's all of them are ready to be enabled. So I'll start it, and I'll just start by enabling boost. Here we go. All right, here goes boost. All right. It's quite a difference. Again, off. Alright, on. Okay, so here's what boost looks like. It's pretty simple, but you might as well learn what it is. Basically, you've got two stages in this plugin. I hesitate to call it an effect. Could call it an effect, but it's it's basically it just boosts the signal. It's a clean boost, right? It has an input stage and an output stage. Output is just shy of 0 decibels. You can see here it's minus 0.1, just a hair below the ceiling, which is 0.0. You are well advised to make this practice of, don't put things that I do it all the time. So, it's like I'm one to talk, but it is advisable to sort of as a habit set things at instead of 0.0, set them at a maximum of negative 0.1. But I could, I can turn it all the way up to 0 there if I want. That's not going to make any real difference here. That's the output stage. The input stage is where the boost comes, right? So I'm going to play this again. It is enabled, and you can see there's the output bar, so the output signal jumping there, and there's the input. If I turn the input all the way down, okay, we're kind of like back to where we began. It might have a minimal boost right now if I toggle it. No, there's nothing happening, right? They're the same. So I'm going to turn it up. Okay. So when you fire up this plug-in, I think the default it fires up at like right around 6 decibels boost. Okay. And you can hear the difference. I'll just go and I'm going to turn it up too high so you can hear what overusing it does. All right, so back down to 0. Okay, you can hear it's quieter. Right? I wanted it a little bit louder and more present. But if I turn it up too much, right, that doesn't sound as nice, does it? It's not as clear. It becomes muddled, and you can see in the middle there is a middle stage here called reduction, and what that's doing, that's a compression stage. So what that's doing is it's keeping the output from clipping. I'm turning it up too loud on the input stage, so loud that if there was not this, let's call it a buffer in between, the compression stage is taking those peak signals that would otherwise clip above 0.0 in the output stage, and it's attenuating those peak signals. That's what compression is. Well, the full thing that it does is that it attenuates peak signals, the loudest parts in it, and it amplifies or makes louder the quietest parts of the signal. So when you see that that green bar bouncing down, that's indicating where it is attenuating the peaks, pushing them down. That's why it's bouncing down. It's pushing them down to keep them from clipping above 0. I'll start again here. All right. Let's get even more extreme. Okay, you can see that green bar is really working there, right? And it's getting down into a yellow, right? Minus 22.3. That's how many decibels it's pushing it down. And so what you get is not a very nice sounding signal. Okay. So, boost is best used in extreme moderation, right? But hey, you play around with these things and you find out what sounds nice and what doesn't, what sounds appropriate for what you're doing and what doesn't. There are times when extremes and things that would be ill-advised generally, you might want that for a special effect in some situations, in some applications. Particularly sometimes if you want like a lo-fi sound, for example. But in this case, I just wanted a little bit louder and more presence to the signal. Now order of plugins is important. So just remember for now that generally boost is something that you put first in the chain. So that's boost. And TDR Molotov is that's a compression plugin. as I just said, compressor takes a signal, and you can turn up the gain. All right, so that's going to create some peaks that might, clip above 0.0 ceiling, right? But it's going to attenuate those clips so they don't clip, or those peaks so they don't clip, and but at the same time, it's going to take the quieter parts of the signal and make them a little bit louder. And so what you get is a more even signal where it's kind of hard to explain. You just have to hear it if you don't know what it is. But once you hear what it does, you understand it. So let me see what I got here. Yeah, you've got different settings in a compressor. You got ratio. That's kind of like how much it's kind of it's hard to explain. It's kind of the how let's just say how strong the compression is. I'm not going to go into all the ins and outs of compressors right now, but that's for later. But for now, just hear what it does. All right, and you can see the red window right here, gain reduction. So that meter, you can see that the needle to the far right is at 0. And when it jumps to the left, it's indicating that it is attenuating signal to keep it from clipping. So let me see. First, I'm just going to go ahead and drag this over here. And I'm going to start the guitar part. And I'm going to turn on the TDR. That's, again, Tokyo Dawn Records. This is a nice compressor for individual instrument tracks. I believe that's what it was designed for. Okay, here we go. I'm going to toggle it on. Okay, you hear the difference? Now, you'll notice over here, you see the 2 little red dots, that's clipping. That is making the individual track clip. All right, which is you're not supposed to do that. All right, but once again, we're not all the way through the rack of plugins. Okay, so I've got something further down the chain that's going to take care of that. Now, there might be some watching who say, this is a no-no, you shouldn't do this, and you'd be right. Actually, I shouldn't be doing this. And to be honest, I don't know why I didn't catch this before. I do no-nos sometimes. It's not a huge no-no because this was a really, really severe clipping that you'd hear it. You'd hear the damage. It doesn't come out as any kind of damage to the signal, but you see that it is happening to plus 1.5, right? Now I can't fix this right now, but listen to the difference. Off. Okay, so it's just a little fuller, a little louder, a little bit more present. You know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and make this. I'm going to change this. I'm going to tweak this right now. There are always things that you miss when you're not a paid professional, right? So let me see here. I'm going to take this knob called threshold, and I'm going to dial it back. I'm not going to explain what threshold means right now. Just watch what happens when I'm just going to tweak things. Watch what happens and listen to what happens. All right. I'm going to tweak threshold. I'm going to tweak makeup. And I might tweak ratio. And with the goal, I want to see if I can make it sound nicer, more pleasing to the ear, and see if I can eliminate this clipping. So here we go. All right. Now that's really high. You can see that needle's working a lot harder, right? And it sounds more muffled. Now it's very, very far from clipping now. You see that? It's peaking at around negative 9.1. But that's just too much. It's too extreme. I want it. This is less dynamic. This is more dynamic. I want it more dynamic. But I don't want it to clip. Listen to what happens when I adjust makeup. It's quieter, right? I think this is better. 3.7. Now I like this. I like things to peak around minus 0.3. Minus 0.1 is also fine. But I like minus 0.3. But I'm weird. Attack I generally set around 7 milliseconds for guitars and things like that. Release I generally leave at the preset. Here it's 100 milliseconds. This knob I don't really bother with, but it does something quite subtle. Alpha, beta, sigma, beta. It affects the stereo spread in a way. I kind of like the beta. Kind of liking that beta. I didn't fool around with that before. Anyway. Oh, it peaked at plus 0.1. I'm going to take this, I'm going to dial this threshold back just a little bit more. Now clicking the red dot will make it disappear, and we'll see if it clips again. Minus 0.3. Okay, now this is it's got some nice dynamics. Listen to the left and right. What's going on left and right? All right. I like it right about there. I'm gonna leave it here for now. Okay, so I fixed my boo-boo. I fixed my no-no. Here's the compressor off. You can hear that turning it back on. The difference is a bit more subtle now. It's a bit more present, not so much louder, but more present, and yeah, more dynamic. More dynamic. It's weird. It's a compressor. I mean, yeah. It has more punch. What you hear going on in the right ear and the left ear, there's just a little bit more punch going on, and that's one thing that compression can provide is punch. All right, enough for that. TDR Molotok is a good individual compressor for individual instrument tracks. Next, I for whatever reason, I chose to use an exciter plugin. It's kind of like, I don't know why I did that. Let's just, before I even begin to try to explain it, go back to where I was, what was I thinking? Let's hear what it does. off, I'm going to turn it on. Leaking again. You hear the difference though? Man, you hear how much more distinct that hi-hat became? It filtered out quite a bit of the lower mid-range and bass, and enhanced that hi-hat frequency range. So much so that it's clipping at positive 2.0. I was being really careless. Actually, I did this really fast. I think I did this in one night. And I was ready to move on to the next thing. I was really excited at the time. I was like, I think I was probably like maybe on my third week. Dry, you know, like I'd made it to the third week. This is the Alcoholic Audio Engineer channel, so I'm going to talk about that sometimes. I was just really excited to get on to the next project, and I think, you know, I heard the final mix, and it was during this mix that I remembered, you know, an old technique that I'd forgotten, and I was so excited about it, man. Like, I was so excited that I just like, oh man, this is fantastic. And I just didn't go back. I didn't debug the mix. I didn't go back and check for these things. I just liked how it sounded, and I wanted to get on to the next thing. But it's good that I'm doing this now, because I'm going back and finding little problems and addressing them. So anyway, hear the difference there. It's quite, I'm going to go ahead and expand this just a little bit more so we can see the individual waveforms, and here we go. All right. So once again, I'm going to turn that exciter on. Wow. I really wanted that hi-hat. Now it's just like, it's just too extreme. That positive 2 decibel clip is, I mean, you know, it didn't ruin the mix by any means, but it's better not to have that, right? So let me see here. What do we got here? We've got F. I'm not going to explain what that is right now. What an exciter does is that it, I've read that it's kind of like the opposite of a compressor. No, that's an expander. An exciter, yeah, it does what it says, what the name implies. It excites bright frequencies, excites it, right? You can just like hear what it does. That's what it does. And I used a preset called Bright Acoustics. Bright Acoustics. There's one called Harsh Lighting. I remember this now. Needle lift, bus polish, sparkling heights. So I probably, you know, I was going through the. Let's just listen to some of the presets. Whoops. Let me see here. Okay. Click on that. Click on the project window. There we go. So just go through some of the presets. Here's harsh lighting. Okay, that's just not nice, right? All right. Needle lift. Okay, this kind of makes it a bit more subdued and muffled. Bus polish. Don't really like that. Sparkling heights. Right, that's really thin. Not very nice. So I liked, what was it? I liked bright acoustics. But I didn't notice the clipping issue. So how do I fix that? I would fix that with probably this knob drive, which is you know, that's going to be a gain adjustment knob. So let's see what it does. I'm going to turn it down. All right. down to 25, turn it down to 0, and lo and behold, it's not clipping anymore. Alright. It's peaking at around negative 0.6. Spread. Let's see what that does. Okay, I like spread at 0. Mix, anytime you see mix knob, this is kind of a ratio between, there's basically two signals. There's what we call the dry signal and the wet signal. The dry signal is the input signal before the effect is applied. All right. And the wet signal is the signal that has been processed by the effect. All right. So the mix signal is, how much of the wet signal versus how much of the dry signal. So if I've got mix at 100, all you're hearing is the wet signal. All you're hearing is the affected signal. If I turn it down to 0, you're just going to hear the dry signal before effect. Okay, so let me show you what that means. Right now it's set at 61. Now I'm going to turn mix down to 0. Now that mix is all the way down to 0, I'm going to toggle it off. Sounds the same basically, right? It's just a dry signal. Off. On. Now I'm going to turn the mix all the way up to the 100. Alright, now it's clipping at 1.5, 1.6, plus 1.5, 1.6. And that's only the exciter, only the affected signal. Let me turn it to 50. Okay, 51. And now turning it down from 61 to 51 might just take care of that clipping. Let's see. Nope, still clipping at 0.2 decibels. Alright, so the F knob is that's an EQ setting, and I don't believe I touched that. I used the preset, and I don't think I messed around with the F knob, but we will, just so you can hear what it does. The first thing I want to do is, before I do that, I just want to stop this from clipping. Alright, so let's go back to the beginning. And now drive is down to 0, right? So what can I do about this? Is it still going to clip? Well, one thing I can do, it's not clipping much. It's only clipping on certain peaks here and there. If I like this exciter setting, and let's say I even want to turn the drive up, make it a little bit louder and more prominent. Let's say I'm going to turn it up to like 31 here. It's probably going to clip a little bit more. Yep, now it's clipping at 1.1. But I like this. Okay, let's AB it. Exciter off. Right. Exciter. Now it's clipping at negative 0.3. I'm going to turn on the exciter. Alright, now, again, that hi-hat is just a bit more prominent. And let's say I like that, right? But I've got this clipping problem, so I'm going to go back to my compressor, and I'm going to adjust that to, I can turn the makeup volume down, or I can dial the threshold further to the left. Alright, so I'm going to take it from negative 17.1 down to negative 17.9. That's going to provide a bit more compression. Not really audible. Difference is not that audible. Now it's peaking at 0.0. And to make sure that it never clips, not even a little bit. Okay, there. Okay, it hit a peak that clipped at 0.4. So if I want to make absolutely sure, I'm just going to have to find, let's take it to 19.1. I like odd numbers. It's one of my quirks. Let's dial it forward here and see if we get clipping. Alright. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to take the makeup. I'm going to dial that back down to like 2.7. Is it going to clip? I know this is, well, if this seems tedious to you, then probably this is not your bag. Maybe this is not your thing. But if you want to get good at this, this is what it involves. This is the learning curve. This is what you do. Now it seems to be peaking at around negative 0.8. I could push it a little bit. I could take this makeup gain to 2.9. See what happens. Now it's peaking at negative 0.6. Let's take it to 3.1. 2 clicks louder. Now it's peaking at negative 0.1. And you know what? It seems to be pretty steady. And at this point, there may be some point in the song where there's a peak that takes it ever so slightly into the red. But at this point, I'm not going to be concerned about it. I like the way it sounds. That clipping is basically under control. You understand what the exciter does. You understand what the compressor does. That's good enough for now. We already went over the TDR VOS Slick EQ. Let's see what I have that set at. Probably, stereo width enhancement. For some reason, this plugin has also British, German, Soviet, and American. And they are subtly different. They do have subtle differences between them. I'm not quite sure why they named them after, different nationalities. I tend to favor either American or British. In this case, I favored British, but let's see if you can hear the difference, okay? First, I'm going to hit play, and then I'm going to toggle the, and this is a stereo width enhancement preset. See if you can hear the difference when I turn it on. Here we go. Alright, so off, and I'm going to turn it on. Originally, I chose British. Here we go. There's a very subtle difference. It's a little bit wider. I'll toggle it off again. That's off. Now back on. Gotta listen to what's going on the left and right. Gotta pay close attention. There is a subtle difference. A little bit wider. Now let's listen to the difference between British and American. British. American. I think the American setting is a bit more, a little bit more less subtle. And the British setting is a little bit more restrained. Maybe that's why they call it American and British, huh? The Brits are more reserved. Americans are a bit more expressive, right? Maybe that's why. But then, why German and why Soviet? Let's listen to them all. Here's American. Again, really attune your attention. This is, a wonderful thing. Mixing is very meditative. And what I mean by that, well, there's all different kinds of meditation practice in the world. I've got some experience with that. For a time, I lived in a Buddhist temple here in Korea, and I trained in certain kind of Buddhist meditation here. But this is a point of attention meditation. Mixing takes a lot of focus of attention. All right. There's something called point of attention meditation. Narrowing your attention to a point. One interesting point of attention meditation is to look straight forward with your eyeballs. Look straight forward at a wall, or look straight forward at an object of some kind. But in your mind, you notice that you can move your point of attention around the edge of your peripheral vision. So that right now I'm looking into my microphone, I'm looking into the pop filter. Now I have a field of vision. Okay, and right now I'm like, let's say that I'm thinking about the microphone. I'm only focused on the microphone, how close I am to the microphone. And at that moment, even though technically the image of the monitor on my left is entering my eye, and in my peripheral vision I can see the smartphone up there on the tripod, which is the camera. When my point of attention is focused on this microphone, and I'm just thinking about this microphone, I don't see that. I don't notice it, right? I don't notice that stuff. But if I deliberately relax my point of attention, right, I relax that, then I see everything at once. I notice everything at once. I notice the monitor over here. I notice the phone up there. I notice the lamp down here. I notice this this picture of me 5,000 some meters above sea level at Lake Tilicho in Nepal. I noticed the blue screen on the audio interface. And in point of attention meditation, you relax your point of attention to the whole field, and then you pay attention. Now I'm kind of paying attention to the light from the monitor on my left. And when I focus on that, the light from the cell phone, the light from the lamp kind of like flicker in and out. It's weird. It's hard to explain, but it's true. You can move that point of attention all around the periphery of your field of vision. It's good mental training. It's very useful. And so the reason I bring that up and explain it is that that's what we're kind of doing here in detecting the subtle differences between these settings. I'm asking you in your the field of your hearing. I'm hoping that you have headphones on. Now, you can't always mix with headphones. Sometimes we're going to talk about that later. Even if you've got like really good, super expensive mixing headphones, it's not a good idea to only mix through headphones. But this is what we're doing right now for various reasons. So let's say you got your headphones on, you can hear in very great detail what's going on in the stereo field, the left and the right. So I'm asking you to direct your attention, focus your attention. And when you do this, you're not going to even with your eyes open, you're not going to see what's in front of you if you do it right. You're not going to really see what's in front of you. The light will be entering your eyes of what's in front of you, but you're not going to be looking at it. You're going to be focused on what's going on in that stereo field, left and right. And if you can sharpen that focus, you'll hear the subtle differences. This is why mixing is really good meditation. Here we go. I'm just going to play the guitar track and toggle through American, British, German, and Soviet. See if you can focus enough to detect the subtle differences. Here we go. American. I'm not going to speak anymore. I'm just going to toggle. Don't just listen to the guitar either. Listen to the hi-hat. Listen to the hi-hat and how that very subtly changes between, these different settings. I'll do it again. That one. Listen to that one. Focus on that. It's different between the British and the American. I think it's a little bit splashier in the British setting, a little bit more pronounced. And that might be why I chose British. Right now I'm kind of favoring American, actually. I'm going to put it on American and see if, when I listen to the whole mix again, I'm going to see if I hear a difference and see if it bothers me. I might want to go back and put it back on British again. Anyway, that's once again our TDR VOS Slick EQ effect. And you notice that I've got that after the boost stage. I've got that after the compression and exciter stage, which might not be correct, actually. It might be more correct to put the exciter after the EQ. And there's only one way to find out, and that's to try it out and A/B it. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit play, and I'm going to drag. I'm going to drag this TDR EQ plug-in up forward and before the exciter in the chain, so that it comes before the exciter. And we'll see if we detect a difference. And if so, is it an improvement? All right. Because now, there are, there's theory and there's praxis. There's theory and practice, right? You can read up on the internet all kinds of opinions about what order one should put, the effects in a chain. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what you like. All right. There are reasons for there are reasons for principles. There are reasons why, in general, you put things like boost and compression at the beginning. There are reasons for having things in a certain order, in general. But at the end of the day, it's what you like and what you're after, right? So let's just try this out. So now I'm going to take the EQ and I'm going to drag it up so it's before the exciter. Listen to the hi-hat. I think that I was really focused on that hi-hat sound. I'm gonna drag that so that it's like it was before, and focus on that hi-hat. Focus on that and see if you can detect a difference. Okay. Focus on that. They sound almost the same to me. There might be a tiny difference. Now focus on the sound of the guitar and see if you can detect any difference in the sound of the guitar. So, try to filter that sound of that hi-hat cymbal and whatever that, I guess it's really like a snare sound. Filter that out and focus on the guitar. See if you hear a difference. So now you're listening to the I hear a difference. Let's go back. Very subtle, very, very subtle difference. And maybe it could be that this time-based guitar effect is, I believe, random. So it's possible that I'm actually not hearing a difference. I thought I heard more of a popping outward in the stereo field, but it could just be that could just be randomly what the guitar effect was doing at that particular moment. I think if there's any difference, it's so subtle that I'm not going to bother with it anymore. But when you're mixing, this is something that you do. You try different orders, sequences. You see if there's any difference, noticeable difference, and if so, which sounds better, or which one gives you more of what you're after. Okay, let's go on to this next thing called ferric TDS. I made some rather odd decisions here, and I think I'm probably going to change the order of this, because since then I realized that first let me explain what ferric TDS is roughly, and what Kotelnikov, again TDR, Tokyo Dawn Records, Kotelnikov. Okay, so TDR Kotelnikov, this is technically I shouldn't be using that plugin in this place, this instrument channel. This is a mastering plugin. This is something that is supposed to be used at the mastering stage, meaning it's supposed to be applied to the whole mix at the very end of the process. And for whatever reason, I decided to break that rule of thumb and to put it here. And for whatever reason, like normally, I think normally you would, especially as it's a mastering plugin, that's obviously going to come after all the reverbs on the individual channels. So I did something really unorthodox here. I'm not sure why I did it. I must have had some kind of reason. Let's start with Ferric TDS. That is, I really love this plugin. I'm not sure why it looks like that right now. Usually it has a dark gray or black thing, band at the top. It's white right now for some reason. Why is that? Ferric TDS. Why does it look like that? I don't know. Anyway. Well, I'll let you hear the difference. It's got basically two stages. Well, the main stages are dynamics and saturation. The whole point of this effect is to give the signal a more analog sound, which means warmer. Saturation is basically warmth. There's a technical explanation for what that means. I'm not going to give that right now, but warmth, tape warmth. You know, think of the difference between a cassette tape and a CD. If you're old enough to remember, if you grew up on cassette tapes, you know, Columbia Records, 12 cassettes for a penny, you know, join the club. Remember that? If you're old enough. And then CDs came out. Remember how different they sounded? That was really something. I'll never forget it. Growing up on cassette tapes, making mixtapes, you get your, there were different grades of cassette tapes, remember that? There was like metal bias and, yeah, they had different sounds. You'd get blank cassettes and they had these plastic tabs in the top, right? I forget how it was. And you have to break them out with a pencil. Or maybe, that's right, you had to break, I forget. The cassettes that you bought from the store, that's right, the cassettes that you bought from the store, they had these two notches